think those actual nice moments are the ones where something bad does happen, but you learn a lesson because you feel like that's success in business. It's not just about money, it's about learning a lesson and knowing how to make things easier, more streamlined, more effective.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
conversational. Okay,
yeah, gorgeous.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, I am beyond excited to say that Jo Watson is on the show today. I have had the absolute privilege of working with her before, and so I have been looking forward to this conversation like I can't tell you. So, Jo, take a moment to just let everyone know a bit about you.
Oh, hi everyone. Oh God, this is so lovely. I feel so loved. I have not felt this at any point this week at all. So this is just joyous. It really is. So yeah, it's me, Jo Watson. I am the copywriter hired by people with great taste in copywriters. So that's my line, and I'm sticking with it. And honestly, it's such a privilege to be here talking to you because we get on so well, don't we? And we just have such a lovely time. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Yes, yes, we absolutely do. So I worked with Jo on her Sorted in 60, and we got so much done in 60 minutes. It was insane. But yeah, and had such a great time doing it. Okay, so Jo, we travel back in time to young you. What was your first job, your first work experience? I like to say, that first pound, like maybe you were 12, I don't know, but yeah, like what was that very first experience?
Well, I think experience is the key word there because when I was about 15, I don't think it's done in schools anymore, but I did a 2 week work experience placement when you had to do it. I think it was in your penultimate year of high school. And the joy of mine was the fact that I got paid for mine. That's like not the point at all. The idea is you go and learn something, or you make tea, or you make photocopies for 2 weeks in any company that will take you in the local area. Um, I was asked to go and work for a photographer, and he had the best name in the world. His name was Wing Wong. That was genuinely his name. He was, as you might have guessed, he was Chinese, and he had a photographic studio, and it was in Liverpool. So I actually had to have a little bit of a trek out each day. It was about a 35-minute train ride from where my school was, and I went every day for 2 weeks, and I loved it. We were in his studio, we were out on location, and it was fantastic. And at the end of the 2 weeks, he gave me and the girl I was with, he gave us £200 in cash and said, "Is that okay?" It's like, yeah, yeah, that's more than okay. I am 15. I have had a lovely time for 2 weeks, whilst all my other friends are stood in shoe shops, kind of just hanging around. And I've got money for it as well. And it was just beautiful. So I think it set the tone really because there was no way from that point onwards I was ever going to do anything just for experience. I was like, no, I want the cash. I've been paid now. I expect to be paid for everything. So, yeah,
Yes, I'm a high ticket offer.
yeah, it was
Oh,
only
that is awesome.
£200. Yeah, when you're 15, that's
That's
brilliant.
a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
It's great now.
Wow.
It's £200 now is still lovely. So,
It is.
so yeah, but no, it was
That
it
is.
was good fun. It was good fun. We got to learn some tricks of the trade. He showed me how all the stuff was done. Like when the photographing food and how they make it look more delicious. So like it's never cheese or milk. It's always PVA glue because it looks more kind of viscose and glossy. And yeah, so when you see food photographed, it's never actually food. It's usually something else entirely that you wouldn't want to eat.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. You see,
Yeah.
that is so cool. I was
It was.
like, man, those burgers look good, but
And then,
they're
yeah,
not.
probably not. Yeah, probably not edible.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. Very interesting. Okay, so that sort of started you off on quite a high, I'm sure. So what was next for you then? So high school, did you do other odds and sods during high school, or did you wait till you left?
I did. I didn't have a regular job. as such because I was a bit of a geek, and I loved going to school and doing my homework and things like that. I don't recall having a very active extracurricular life. Like I look at my own daughter now, and she's got something every night. Yeah, and every day and every morning and whenever the sun is up, essentially. But I don't recall ever having that, so I don't really know how I filled my time. But I did get involved in a few projects. So I remember, I don't know how I got it. I think it was my last year of high school. I had to do a few weekends going into Manchester, and I was volunteering at, it was like at the World Championship Gymnastics or something like that. And like I said, I can't remember how I got it, or why I was doing it, but it was great. It was just going and being like at big stadiums in Manchester across the city, helping with everything from signing people in to showing people where to go and helping with rotors. And it was, I just loved it. I didn't get paid for that one, which was a bit of a downer, seeing as what I'd become accustomed to. But it was great because I felt like I was doing something. I had a role to play. So I always kind of got the sense that when I entered the world of work, I'd want to do something where I felt like I was serving a purpose or I was valued in some way. But my job after not leaving school, it was after leaving college and before going to university. I was a waitress and a barmaid. And I remember loving the training for it because it was a brand new venue and it was a brand new pub, like a gastro pub thing that had opened in the town where I lived. And they trained you for everything, which I thought was great. So I'd applied for the job as a waitress because I was 17, 18, and they wanted you to train behind the bar as well. They wanted you to go down into the cellars and train there. They wanted you to be okay with washing the pots in the kitchen and making desserts in the kitchen, and they wanted you to be able to do roughly everything so that you could step in if needed. And what a great way to pull a team together, I think. So I really enjoyed that. It was my first kind of introduction into customer service, which is something I never went into, but I don't know why, because I'm fascinated by it. I remember the lady who was teaching us, her name was Sue. She said, you don't just go to the table halfway through the meal and say, is everything okay? As we're used to, aren't we? Is everything okay? Yeah, it's okay. And we all move on with our lives. She'd said, look at what they're eating. Is the steak cooked to your liking? Would you like a top up of your wine? Be observant, be vigilant, and really speak to the guests. They're not customers, they're guests. And this was just for a pub. It wasn't for like, some high-end Michelin star or anything. But it's always stuck with me, those little, extras, just going above and beyond to give great customer service. So I loved that. And I think again, I was a bit spoiled because I got tipped really well in that job. And then every job I've had since doesn't operate on a tipping system. And I feel really sad about that because I think I do pretty well.
Yeah, you could get tips. Oh man, yeah.
I reckon I could do okay. Yeah, but I remember going home, I had a jar, it was an old coffee jar, and I'd put my pound coins in there. And I loved it. And my dad was like, how are you getting this? And I was like, I'm just nice to people. And I thought, wow, this is wonderful. I think the tips were probably better than the wages. Really, just,
Isn't that what it always is? I mean, that's why that's why we have to tip.
exactly. And it wasn't because, I didn't feel like I was being paid badly. It was a great place to work. But when you're looking at what you're getting just for being nice, in comparison to what you're getting for doing the job as an entirety, and the one for being nice is more. It probably taught me some good lessons about, being decent with people. It'll probably get you quite a long way.
Yes, yes, I agree. I was the worst waitress, I think, in the history of the world. We didn't, but I was nice, but I was just like so clumsy. I worked for a five-star restaurant in London, so we like wore ties and collared shirts, and the people were very snooty. And I came from South Africa, and like we serve French wine, so I didn't like honestly, I had no education in terms of this, so I didn't even know the difference between red and white wine. So when they ordered something, I was like, I didn't even know like if it was a red or a white, or and they wouldn't point to the menu either. They would be like the blah 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 blue,
Oh no, no,
and
I
I was like,
can't.
okay.
No, show me where it's written down.
So bad. But I thought it was nice, but honestly, in the whole time I worked there for about 8 months, I think I got £5 tip in
Oh,
total, the whole 8 months. So,
no.
but it wasn't a tipping culture. It was like a added to the bill, and then we shared it. But like, yeah, £5 in
Oh no.
8 months.
Did you get it though? So yeah, these things are added to the bill because I always ask that when places say, "Oh no, the tip's already included," and you think, "Well, that's a bit presumptuous, isn't it?
Mm,
Really?" I never
mm.
know how I feel about that,
Yeah,
but
no. So, yeah, we worked on a point system. So, funny enough, our managers had 2 points, the lead waiters had 1 point, and then I had half a point. So, like, as but I was serving all the tables. So, it was, yeah, anyway. So, but let's not go down that. I want to hear, because there must be, even no matter how great it was, there must be some war stories for serving people. There always is. And I would love to hear a story from you.
um, well, two things spring to mind. One of them isn't a story; it's just more of an occurrence, and that is when we talk about tipping. They used to come from the most unlikely of sources, I think. So, for example, you would get two. I remember two nuns used to come in every Thursday morning. Two nuns. They would have a coffee and they would share a cake. So, and it was lovely, so nice, and they were beautiful. And you just have a little chat with them. Nothing, over the top. They've come in to have their time together. And they would always leave for whoever was serving them. Would always leave £5. Now the thing is that their bill was probably only about £7 or £8, but they'd leave £5, and that was lovely. What a wonderful gesture. Whereas you'd serve tables of 20 on a big birthday, and they'd order everything. And I always remember one of the things we used to do. We had to make liqueur coffees, but part of the thing was we had to make them at the table. And so you've got the pressure of people looking that you're doing it and swirling getting the cream consistency right and swirling it to make sure it doesn't blend into the coffee and it balances beautifully in a wine glass and all of
Yes,
that.
I know
Oh, it's
exactly what you're
stressful.
talking
Oh,
about.
I can see the pain in your eyes. It's like, oh God, this is taking me back. It's taking me back. And I remember you get it right and you think, yes, the cream didn't sink or I got it
That
right.
is a skill. Like,
Oh, I
yeah,
want to try it
it's an
again to see if I
art.
still got
It's an
it. It
art.
is an
Yeah.
art. And
Yes.
considering we were just a chain pub,
Mm,
essentially,
mm.
it was kind of a bit of a flair you had to have for it. So I used to dread it. I think I got away with it most times. I think I was able to style it out, whatever I was producing for them. But you do all that, they'd be in for 3 hours. There was loads of them. They'd demand everything off you. They wanted something that wasn't on the menu, and all of this. And you'd do it all with a smile, and you'd look after everyone, and then they'd leave nothing. And you think, look, you don't have to tip. It's not the law. It's not expected. But come on, don't we live in a world where if someone is doing a lot for you, if there's anyone like that, God, I go over the top with tips if I feel someone. I probably tip too much because, and I don't know whether it's because I'm that kind of person or I feel like I'm redressing the balance from all these people who are just tight. Essentially. So I always remember things like that. But in terms of a specific story, I remember getting really upset once because I'd served a steak to someone and he looked at it and he went, "What the hell is that?" And I'd said, "Oh, it's your steak," and he'd ordered it. He'd ordered it rare, I think. I don't know the difference really. I wouldn't know how to test. Back in the days when I ate meat, I would only ever get well done. I'm one of those people who everyone hates because I literally butcher the dish by having it. And I remember him saying, what the hell's that? I ordered this rare. This is so overcooked. And I said, okay, I'll go and speak to the chef. And he didn't stop there. He decided no, he was going to really go in on me, and he absolutely just ripped me apart. It was awful, and I just thought you don't do that to anyone. But the fact that I was a 17-year-old girl was probably a lot worse in some way. I hate to play an age or a gender card, but it felt worse, and it was awful. And he just embarrassed me, and it was terrible. And I had to take it back to the kitchen. And I remember the chef John. He saw what state I was in, And he didn't get sacked for this. I've got no idea how he didn't get sacked, but he came out with me, and he came out and he said, number one, you don't ever speak to her like that again. You don't ever send her into my kitchen in tears again. He said, number two, if that steak was any rarer, it'd be, can I swear, it'd be fucking mooing. And
It's brilliant.
and I love that. I love that, he kind of like defended me and put this guy in his place.
Yes,
How he
yes.
didn't get sacked, I don't know. I'm so glad he didn't, because
Yeah, but isn't that the team? I mean, so it seems like the leaders of this pub were really focused on creating this team environment. And so, like, losing one customer, but like creating this team morale, I
oh,
think is like super worth it. So, yeah,
absolutely.
John does not deserve to be sacked.
I wish more places were like that, because I think a lot of companies these days are so scared of what one client or one customer will say. And you think you could do everything right and you'll get one client or one customer who's got a problem. And if you pander to them, it's going to cause resentment within your staff and in your teams, because you didn't back them. So I'm not, yeah, I'm not 100% sold on the customer is always right.
No,
I'm not. It's
no,
not for me.
no. I agree with you. They are not after also serving five-star people.
Hmm.
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I do think this is an experience like I'm going to force my kids to serve people because it just is like, I don't know, it just builds character, empathy, like all the things. So yeah, thanks for telling us these awesome experiences. Okay, so from there, give us the rundown of like, so early experiences, you went to college and university, like that's the same thing in America sometimes, so just explain. And then like and all the things, like so what are your big milestones that got to you to where you are now?
Um, I did an English degree at uni because I was good at English, and there was no one around at the time to tell me, no, don't choose something you're good at, choose something that will line you up for a job. There was no such. Well, if there was careers guidance, it wasn't being given to me. That's for sure. And I look back at that, and I'm really quite sad, because I just felt like I did a degree that I didn't need. Even as a writer now, it hasn't helped me. So I can say it confidently in hindsight. An English degree did not help me. Has not helped me. Um, which might shock quite a lot of people given what I do for a living. Um, no, I went and got this English degree. I just coasted along. I was a very, very average student because I wasn't really being stretched. So I didn't feel that I had to pull out all the stops, really. Uh, so I did that. And then I was applying for so many jobs. Oh my God, there was this book, and I remember it. It was navy blue and green, and it was called Prospects. And it was, yeah, it was about as thick as this. It was like a catalogue kind of thing, and it had in it listings for all, basically every corporate business in the country ever, and how graduates could apply for an internship or a graduate role. And I must have applied for every role on that page. And I believed that I had what it took. I believed that I'd done extracurricular experiences. I believed that I could talk about the things that I've talked about with you today. I believed I could bring it all, and I never got anything. The furthest I got, this is a nice story. The furthest I got was I got a second interview with the 3M Corporation, who are the guys who make post-it notes. And I got a second interview with them, and I thought, my God, how good would it be to work with the guys who make post-it notes and all of that? And then I never heard from them. I never heard any feedback. I never got anything, which is so frustrating. But I was gutted. I really was. As a result, my friend Lucy, who I will have known for 25 years this year, because that's when we started uni, she has since, from that day, boycotted post-it notes.
That's a hard thing to do.
It is. It's harder than you think. It's like I've got over it. I'm okay. I have several colours. I've got the orange. I've gone all in on the post-it notes. I've got blue.
I
Um,
know. I'm
the,
saying I keep those people in business.
exactly. I've got bloody loads of them. But no, Lucy has, she's absolutely boycotted Post-it notes because I didn't hear anything back. And I love that. I know. The world needs more people like Lucy. She's got such conviction. It's like, yeah, I got over it within about a year. And I hold grudges. So I'm quite surprised at myself there. But no, she's still to this day, a quarter of a century on, she boycotts Post-it notes. But no, I didn't get it. I didn't get anything in this prospects directory, and I applied for every internship going. Didn't get anything. So I finished uni, went back home to mum and dad, and they said, right, here's the local paper. Look at what there is, and I saw a job at a play scheme, and I had no experience of kids, and I didn't particularly like them. And that's something that I keep to this day. Really, even as a mother, I don't understand kids, and I don't particularly like them. So I applied for this job as a play leader to like go and do after school holiday clubs, things like that, just doing play things for largely the under fives, but we did have some primary age range stuff as well. And I did that, and it was easy, and it was cash in hand, if you're allowed to say that. It was great. I loved it. And the boss ended up becoming such a dear friend. He actually passed away last year, and it was my first experience of a close person to me going. So it hit me, and I'm very, very lucky that I've got to the age of 43, having not lost someone who's ridiculously close to me, and I feel fortunate. Um, but yeah, he was a great boss. But he said to me, "Right, I've got you a job. I've got you an interview for a teaching assistant in a primary school." I was like, "Why?" And he said, "I think you'd be good at it."
Why?
Yeah, and he was like, "Well, he's like, you're going." So I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." I had no desire to be in a school or anything like that, but he got me this interview. They gave me the job on the spot because of him, basically, because he was quite influential in the local community. And this sounds really arrogant because it is really arrogant. I was in that school, and I kept sitting there at the age of what, 21, going, I could do better than this. With no knowledge of children, no experience of children other than this play group thing. I just thought I could teach this better. I've got better ideas. And that is, it's supremely arrogant. I recognise that in myself. So I did apply to go on the teacher training programme, and I got on, and I loved it. But I loved it because it gave me so many transferable skills. And my plan was actually to get this PGCE, this postgrad certificate in education. And because it was seen as a very high level award and something that was quite, it was transferable, I thought, I'm just going to get it and I'm going to start applying for those graduate jobs again. But then someone had said to me, no, really, you should get your first year of teaching done as well, your NQT year, your newly qualified teacher year. Get it, just so then you can say you've got it. And if you ever did want to go into teaching, you can do. So I got it, and then I stayed. And I only did a few years as a primary school teacher, but I still, to this day, I've got no idea how I stuck it that long, because the kids were great. It turns out I was actually great with kids because I was quite fair and firm, and I think kids like that. Everyone else was very, oh, fluffy, and I wasn't. I was quite firm but fair, and I think a lot of kids reacted well to that from their teacher. So I did love it, but the politics of being in a school is just awful. And I ended up working for an absolute tyrant who, one of the other teaching staff said to me, don't worry that he's bullying you. He'll choose someone else next year. And I thought, oh, that's all right then.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
not
he,
toxic at all.
exactly. Yeah, he'll
Yeah,
move on. He'll move on.
yeah, yeah.
And he only ever employed young women because they were easily squished. So that I had to get out of that. I then went to work for a Premier League football club. Well, they're not Premier League anymore. They're not very good at all, actually. I went for a Premier League club. I did alternative education, education out in the community. Worked my way up the ranks, but then I learned pretty damn quickly. If you want to be a senior woman in football, you've got to be a man. So that's my summary of it. And I remember one, because there's so few women at a senior level in football, and I completely get why. It's horrendous. But I remember not being invited to meetings. I remember in the meetings I was invited to, I was literally told to shush, sweetheart, nobody's interested. I had my arse slapped. I don't know what was worse, being in the meetings and being treated like that, or not being invited to them at all because I was irrelevant. And it was awful. And I remember one of the other women saying to me, and she was my boss, and she said, well, nobody helped me, so I'm not going to help you. Yay, feminism.
Wow. That's amazing. I know, and yeah, we can we can dig into feminism because that is a thing. It's like
It's
women just, yeah, we need to help each other out. I mean, yeah, it's,
absolutely no one helped her, so she wasn't going to help
yeah,
me. And there was
yeah.
another
And that's
woman.
so bitter. And it's like,
It
no,
is.
like I'm up now. Let me help you up.
Let
Let me
me help
just
you. Come
get
and
my hand
join.
out there and pick you up. Yeah,
And be an
yeah.
ally as well. I could have been an
Mm,
ally for her, and we could have, changed things. But there was another quite senior woman. They don't last 5 minutes. She was gone after about a year, I think. And she said, well, you're just going to have to grow a thick skin. And I remember writing an article about it, saying, well, why should I? Why should I change to cope? Why should I change to fit a system that is awful? So, and I thought, I don't want to become so bitter and so thinking like a man, or thinking like well, thinking like a misogynist, not thinking like a man, because that's unfair to men, thinking like a misogynist, because women are capable of that too. And I thought, I don't want to change that, because I don't want to find myself in 20 years with a female employee coming to me in tears and me saying, well, no one helped me.
yeah.
I'm not going to be that person.
Figure it out, sweetheart.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to be that person. No. Yes,
So
and I like the difference there. Man is different because honestly, I have been more supported, or at least equally supported by men than women. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's sad, and yeah, I'm glad you chose not to be one of those.
absolutely, it's just horrific, and I didn't want to become part of that. And so I left. I started to set up my own business, but I knew I still needed to earn money as well. So I actually went and worked for a startup. And for 3 years in sports education, I helped in whatever small way I could this guy to build his business and build his empire. And whilst I was doing that, I kept thinking, imagine if I had this time to build my own. And I didn't want an empire, and I still don't. It's not who I am. I just want to make money, go home, have a nice life. But I thought, if I can do this for him and get results for him and make him money, imagine if I just went and did it for myself. And that's what I did. I think it was, oh God, I think 12 years ago. No, sorry, 10 years ago. I think I went full time, and I've not looked back. It's not to say I've not had doubts and thought, what the hell am I doing? Or shall I just go and work in a supermarket and stack shelves because it would be less stressful? But no, I'm happy where I am. And looking back, I wouldn't change a thing, because I'm happy where I am.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dig into running your own business because I think so many people want to jump out of the corporate world, build their own thing. There's just so much on social media on the wins and the highs, and look at me, I make $100,000 in 30 seconds. It's like a whole lot of that stuff, and I am like, I want to speak the truth. And I did a video on, like, I have had so many ugly cry moments. Last year, it's been so hard. You do doubt yourself. You're like, why why am I doing this? I was like gonna go, uh, I couldn't do it because like school, but I was like gonna go work at the ski resort here and just like work the lift, the chair. I was like, I'm just gonna go do that and earn some money and just like, stop with this. It's hard. So yeah, tell us the real stories. Like, tell us some of your worst days. And obviously you're at a place that you feel really content and you keep building. But yeah, just what did it really take?
It's my worst days. I can't pinpoint any particular events. I don't think my worst days tend to be if I've spent a lot of time on social media for the very reason that you've highlighted. We are swamped with bullshit, basically, because I think if you're off earning that amount of money and you're that wealthy, go and spend your money. If you'll know the day I'm a millionaire because you will not see me. You will not find me. I'll be on a yacht. I won't care about social media. No one will ever hear from me again. I'll be gone. I'll be spending my cash. Uh, but I just think these people they protest too much, and I think they probably get their money by selling a dream to someone else and selling that false success. Really, it's like I'm so successful, I'm so wealthy, I've got all the best clients, I get this in 30 seconds, I do all this in the hope that people will go, oh, I must work with them, oh, to orbit their sphere, how privileged I would be. And I think they bank on that, and there will be people who will go for it. There'll be people who fall for it. Fine. That's how the world works. You've got people who are a lot more gullible than others. And it's all lies. And I feel I don't like discussing money on social media. I wouldn't do it if I went out and did my shopping, and just stop people and go, did you know I made 30K last month? You There's no need.
Yeah.
Nobody asked.
No,
Nobody asked.
no.
And nobody needs to know, do
Yes.
they? It's well,
That is
why
so
are we
funny.
why are we
I'm so,
doing
like,
it?
embarrassed.
I don't, it is. It's like, don't you get
Yeah.
embarrassed for them as soon as
Yeah.
someone says. But then you think they're gonna go somewhere nice with it because they'll go, I made nothing last month. I made no money. And you think, thank God, a real story of scarcity, a poor economy, wrong choices of clients, just, marketing dying on its arse, whatever. But then they'll ruin it and go, but then this month, I've just landed, 50K with my dream client, and you're like, oh, you've ruined it. You've ruined it now. And just go out, do a good job. And I think I put a post out about this the other week, actually. I'd said, imagine if LinkedIn didn't exist and you had to build a business purely by being good at your job rather than by telling people you're good at your job and telling people how much money you've made. But I find it so cringy. But whenever you call that out, you get people who say, oh, no, that's because your money mindset's wrong. And I'm like, no, I just have a sense of, I don't know, grace, humility, knowing the fact that nobody needs to know how much money I earn other than the tax man when I submit my return. And it's funny because all these people who say about what they earn, I don't think they can connect the dots that you can go on Company's House and see exactly how much money they've earned. And it's yes, it definitely. I don't know what the equivalent is there, but Company's House in the UK, it tells you exactly what they've bloody brought in, and it ain't nothing close to what they say. But it's even though I can look at it and I know it's crap and I know it's rubbish, it still gets to me that that's the world I'm living in. That's the land I'm trying to build a business on, because everyone's out there and everyone's falling for it. And so, yeah, the worst days are definitely the ones where you have to spend time, or you choose to spend time on social media, because it's awful, it's toxic as hell. Um, I remember someone put a post out saying, don't worry if you haven't made any money in your first year of business. A lot of businesses don't. And you think, yeah, true. But then again, they ruined it because they said, it took me well over 15 months to get my first 100K. And I'm like, oh God, how is that achievable? How is that common? It's just this false, oh, I know what it's like to struggle kind
Yeah.
of thing. And
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Tell your hard truth, and then the success story.
that
Everyone
comes.
will see the transformation that's possible. Yeah.
I want the tragedies, I want the failures, and for them to go nowhere. I don't want to, but look how I turned it around, and look. but you get it with personal things as well. Like someone will say something about their child, something's happened with their child, and you'll think, oh God, I relate to that. I've got a child, it's awful. And then they'll build on it and they'll go, I don't know, sometimes I think I'm just, I'm too available as a mom. I'm just too hands on. I'm too supportive. And you're like, oh no, how awful. You're this fantastic mom. And it's, you just leave it. Just leave. Give me the things that go wrong, and we'll relate to them, and it'll make me like you, and it'll make me trust you. But then you don't feel like you've got to transform or make a positive spin on it. No, it doesn't have to be. It's some things are just shit. Let's go with it. Let's go with it.
That is so true. And that is the reality. So I actually had a conversation with like tax people when I opened up my business, and they, call me for the sales thing, and they're like, how much money did you make? And I tell them, which was like not paying the bills at all. So, but they even said to me like, oh, that's great. You made some money in your first year. And I was like, oh God, like I couldn't even fill my car. Like, it was like, let me check my bank accounts if like my fuel is going to go through during some months. And then they're like, no, that's really good. So, I mean, that is the reality. And I don't think we're speaking about it enough, right? So, like, because I couldn't afford fuel some months doesn't mean I'm a failure, loser. Like, you keep going, and that's what it is all about. And so build, and eventually you will be a success story, but like also you don't need to, yeah, like make other people feel bad because they're not there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And those people will argue they're being aspirational. And I think, no, that's a lovely cover for you to go and brag or for you to go and lie. And I'm not comfortable with either of those things. It might be true, in which case you're a massive show off, or it's a lie, and that is obviously deceitful. And you're just trying to get a following in, so they'll want to work with you because yeah, they'll think, oh God, they're successful. I'll work with them, and very deceitful. And I don't like that, but it seems to be the done thing, unfortunately. But I'm not going to do it, but I wish I could come away from social media. I do, but unfortunately, I do get a lot of my clients from it. And it's how we met, isn't it? And you're just, oh, you're just like my favorite person in the entire world. So thank God for
You
LinkedIn.
can brag about your dreamy client.
I know this is the
I
thing.
get to work with my
I
dreamiest
do.
clients.
I do get to work with the best
Yeah.
clients. I really do. But
Yeah.
similarly, I have things where I just think, oh, for God's sake, what am I doing? I talked earlier about going and stacking shelves in Tesco in the local supermarket. They always have near Christmas, they have a call for people to go in and do extra shifts and stuff. And I genuinely wanted to do it. But then I thought, I think if I take that job, I'll never leave it. And I won't go back to this. I know what I'm getting each month. I know
Yeah.
who I'm going to see.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to deal with. And
Y-
that's just lovely. Yeah, I just had visions of, yeah, I won't go back to running my own business. I'll be happy.
Okay, so now tell us the good part of running your own business. Like what have been some of the absolute wins, the highs where you just want to jump and punch the ceiling?
Yay! And there really are so many. I have been able to get to a stage where I feel like I'm attracting the people I want to work with, but I also feel like I've got quite a good filtration system in place as well, where when things come up, I think, is this right? Is the project right? Is the person right? And I've got that confidence in myself to say, no, I'm not going to do that because I feel, although the money would be nice, because of course it always is, that's why we're in business, there'd be something about working with that person I wouldn't enjoy, or there's an association to that person where I think I don't want to be in that world, or maybe the company doesn't have the best of ethics, if any at all. So I love the fact that I have got to the stage where I'm able to control that, and I'm able to be choosy about who I work with. And that's lovely, because I like to think that my clients are choosy. I like to think that, they've looked at me and thought, I want it to be her. they haven't just gone, oh, any old copywriter, yeah, you'll do. I'd like to think that they chose me, and that's a nice thing to do. And I just, I don't know. I look back at who I've worked with, and there are always some ones that slip through the net. Like in the early days, I've had clients who I've finished projects for, and they've just disappeared. They've not paid, and they've disappeared into the ether. But then you learn a business lesson from it. You think, right, what can I do to change this? Well, I'm going to charge up front, and then or I'm going to do my due diligence and look into these people first a little bit. They've probably looked into me, so I'm going to do it for them, and it's just nice. So I think those actual nice moments are the ones where something bad does happen, but you learn a lesson because you feel like that's success in business. It's not just about money, it's about learning a lesson and knowing how to make things easier, more streamlined, more effective, how to eradicate problems before they even arise. There's something quite powerful about that, and I really do like it, thinking I've grown, and that's a nice situation to be in. Plus, I get to work with my cat every day. He's a little bit annoyed at you that you've not officially welcomed him in.
Yes, I know. I was like, hey, I was going to ask you right in the beginning. I was like, how is he? Because, yeah,
He
that cat is on his, I don't know, 11th life.
is don't even start. Oh my god. If you did this podcast about stories about my cat, I would have plenty for you from the last 3 months alone. But I love that he's a feature. I love that he's here. Aren't you good, Barry? Yes. Yeah,
Such a
he's
handsome fella.
he is. He is, isn't he? So yeah, I get to work with Barry, so that's the highlight. You can't walk into an office with a cat. So when you run your own business, you can bring your own cat. It's great.
Nice. As you're talking, my dog came in to visit, but my daughter took him out because he's like, and open the door, close the door, open the door, close the door.
As
So
they do. Yeah.
he's high maintenance. Anyway, so I want to ask you, and you might have touched on something, or maybe you want to have a completely different take on this one, but what is something that people are not speaking enough about when it comes to building a career or business? Doesn't matter, if they're in corporate or running their own thing. What is just something in the world that we're not speaking enough about and you wish we could shout it from the rooftops?
Oh, I wish. Well, I know we've talked about honesty. I wish people were more honest, but I think that's something I'm never gonna get my wish for that. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Um, I wish we spoke to people who are looking to start their own business. I wish we were a little bit more realistic in what we're selling them. Because I'm not saying, we lie to them, but often we're like, yeah, go and start your own business, go and do it, just leave your job, go and do it. No, I think that's bad advice because it takes a whole mindset. It takes a little bit of financial security to be in a position to start your own business, but we just don't seem to be advising that. So I started building my business whilst I was working for someone else. And yes, it meant I was always doing something and I didn't really have a lot of free time. But I thought, yeah, by the time I do quit to go full time, I want to feel like I've already got a business rather than like in the American movies. Yeah, I just quit my job because I hated it. I'm going to design shoes. Despite not having a place to do it, any materials, any experiences, any connections, any clients. Well, I'm just going to do it because I didn't
A
like my job.
factory, anything,
It's a workforce, all of this. Yeah, it's
anything.
yeah. Just, but they do it. It's in the American films, and whether it might maybe this is what happens in America, and it's true. I don't know, but they just go, yeah, I just quit my job because I just didn't like it anymore, and we're encouraging that, and I think it's very honourable, it's very brave, but as with a lot of brave things, they're often very stupid. And so I would say we need to be speaking to people about building their business before they go all in on it. Because I remember my husband saying to me, he saw what success I was having for my boss at this startup. and he saw what I was doing with a good write up. And I said, yeah, but I'm scared. I'm scared of, what if I don't, what if I can't fill the time? What if I can't, get any clients in? And he said, well, you've already started to get clients around your job. You are already putting work in. Imagine you take that job out of the equation. Now you've got all the time available to you to try and make this work. And it might not work in the first instance, but at least as well, because I was in those years, I was planning to leave. My plan was always going to be, right, in the next few years I'm going to build my business. I was savvy with my money, and I made sure I had something there so that if the first few weeks, months, year wasn't profitable, I'd still be able to keep a roof over my head. And I think that's the discussion we need to be having, because we are too quick to go, yeah, quit your job, go into your own business. And I've become such a miserable cow because I went out with three friends a couple of months ago. We had a lovely, lovely meal. We'd not seen each other for ages. And they work in education, so I didn't meet them through education. I wasn't working with them. I met them in a slightly different way, but they're all teaching in schools and they've got different levels of responsibility. And they were saying how much they hated it. And this is just true of most teachers in this country and most people who work in education. They hate it. It's an awful system to be in. And they hate it, they hate it, they hate it. And one of them sat there and went, you know what? We should just start our own businesses. And the other two were like, God, yeah, we should. What can we do? And I was sat there and I went, you do know that's not how it works. You do know that is really not how this goes. You can't just go, I'm going to start my own business. So, yeah, I was a proper cow with them, and they were like, oh well, it's just a nice thought and an idea, and I went, no, it's a ridiculous thought. If you really truly wanted to build a business, you just started by now. But no, you're sitting here with a glass of wine, going, I know, I'm just going to quit my job and do something. Oh, yeah, I'll sell candles. And I'm like, that's great. That's gorgeous. The world will always need candles. If you think that's going to replace your wage as a senior teacher, good luck.
Yes, yes. I mean, maybe in a few years, like 5 more years, maybe. I don't know. You got to get a building, a team.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, if you think
Yeah, it's a
you can.
lot. Yeah, and that's a good point. No one's really talking about what it takes, like the inputs. People are just looking at the potential outputs, like the potential money, but it's like how much goes into that. Yeah.
Exactly. They just don't get it. And I remember one of them saying she wanted to leave a job, but she could only go into another job if it paid her a minimum of X. And I thought that's the wrong mindset, because if you were running your own business, there'll be some months you don't earn anything, because that's just the way things work, either because your outgoings are too big because you're trying to put something in place, or the clients just don't come in, or there's a cash flow problem, because that can often happen, as we know. And I just thought, you can't, that's not a business mindset, is it? To say I'd have to earn this amount. If I went into a new job, I'd have to earn that amount. Or if I started a business, it'd have to be something that brings me this. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Set your goals, but also understand the ramp up and the input. Yeah, absolutely.
Completely. Yes, so
Absolutely.
I'm the miserable cow in my friendship group. And I was like, no, well, no, they think I'm miserable. I think I'm a realist. So
Mm. Yeah, I mean, good advice. Maybe, you might have saved them. Who knows?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So, Joe, let's go again back in time. What would you thank your younger self for doing, in your 20s, whatever it is that really set you up for who you are today and where you are today?
I think we've already touched on it to an extent. I would thank myself for leaving that job, rather the one in football, because it was, when you took the politics out of it, I actually loved the job. I did love the job, and I've made some great friends. Friends who are, to this day, are they're still my closest friends, because we all struggled and under a leadership regime. Um, but so I did love the job, but I'm glad I quit because, as I said, if I'd have stayed and chased the money, which would have been a long time coming, and had I stayed and thought one day I'll make it as a senior woman in football, which may or may not have happened, stats would tell you it probably wouldn't have, no matter how hard I worked or whatever I did. Um, I think the fact that I left was the right call because otherwise I possibly would have turned into that woman who was worse than any man in terms of the fact that you kind of you expect the misogyny from a man because that is usually where it comes from. When it comes from a woman, it hits harder for me. And I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't want to become that person, and I didn't want to change who I was so I could say I've got this job, I've got this role. It wasn't for me. So I thank myself for staying as long as I did to get the experience, and it did give me experience, and it was great to an extent. Um, but I thank myself for just quitting. And I thank myself for how I quit as well, because I literally walked out of a meeting. And that was, yeah, I just went, you know what, forget it. And I remember walking out of the room, and I remember shutting the door, and I remember holding on to that handle, thinking, have I just made an awful mistake? And then I let go of the handle and I thought, I don't care. They can't disrespect me or devalue me any more than they do already. So what the hell? And I walked down that corridor and I felt relief. I absolutely felt relief. And I would, prior to that time, I would have always said to people, don't leave a job until you've got something else lined up. But I felt if I didn't leave, even though I had nothing else lined up, I thought this could take a really dark turn. And I needed to go, and I didn't have anything lined up, and I didn't care. And I remember I went back to my office and I opened up the Jet2 holidays website, and I booked the most ludicrously expensive holiday I could find for me and my partner. We didn't have a child at the time, and I didn't know where the money was coming from. I didn't care. I didn't care. I thought I have worked here all this time, and I've suffered in the last few months, the years, whatever. And I thought, forget it. I'm gonna spend my money. I'm gonna do something nice. This ends on a high, and I booked a lovely, lovely holiday. And to this day, it was still one of the most beautiful holidays I've ever been on. And I just felt calm. So I think I was about 29 maybe. I thank her for doing that. So yeah.
Yes, and that just talks to this underlying like value system that you stood up for yourself. Because it could be, that's a nice title. You work for a football club. It's a big deal, and you're 29. You could just, want the flash, but you stood by your values. Oh gosh.
Exactly. Oh, don't know you're being burgled, Candice.
Yeah, yeah. So that's lovely. That is really awesome. Yeah, I would also thank myself for doing that. Good for you. That is such a good decision and probably changed the whole trajectory of your life. I mean,
It did.
honestly. Yeah, yeah,
It
that's
did.
fantastic.
It did. I mean, there was obviously a little bit of panic there. I thought, oh God, when I come back from this holiday, I'm going to have to find a job. But I
Yeah.
had,
Got
I
no
had
savings now.
exactly, but I had confidence in myself
Yes.
that I would.
Good. Yeah,
So,
that's so good. So good.
yeah.
Okay, now is your time to tell people what you're working on. Tell them about your group, your book, all the things. I mean, I have a little insight, but yeah, tell people who have never heard of you how they can work with you, get in touch, join you, all the things.
Yeah, okay, so as I'd mentioned, I am a copywriter. That is primarily what I do. I go off and I write for people and their businesses. But one of the things I love doing, and it's how you and I met, and you mentioned it, I have this thing called Sorted in 60, and it is 60 minutes on Zoom, and you can do what you did and book a block of them, and then we get to work on loads of stuff together. But it's 60 minutes where we look at whatever you want. So it might be website copy, emails, general marketing, social media posts, anything to do with branding. and we just absolutely blitz it in this collaborative fashion, and it's such a wonderful thing to do. I like to think that people come away from the sessions happy, feeling confident about what they're doing, and thinking, bloody hell, that was good value for money, let me get another session. So I do love doing those, but something I'm particularly big on this year is my micro communities. So I've always just called them a membership group, or something like that. But that word membership, it's not sitting right with me at the moment. Um, and I've been looking into what it is I'm doing, and what I actually run are two micro communities. So they're not there to get hundreds of bums on seats, which is, of course, the preferred business model. The more people, the more money. That's what we need to do. I don't want to do that. I want to run small communities and have more focus on fewer people. And I've got two of those that I'm running. One is quite new. It's called Mighty Networkers, and it's for people who want to get more out of their networking. So we look at how they can become more effective networkers, how they can get over things like the dreaded small talk, how they can have efficient one-to-ones, how they can be more effective networking online, because I know that's tough for people. And so we look at everything that can help them become more effective and confident. And my other one that's been going for 5 years is called Team GDI, and it is for people who want to become better writers, whether it's for their business, their job, their passion, just to be better at writing in life, to advocate for themselves, or to, put themselves in a stronger position. And it's a gorgeous little community. And you know what, we talk about writing, but we talk about everything else as well. As I said, that keyword is micro community. People just come together for a shared purpose, and you get to know each other and learn and laugh, and just feel like you found your tribe, really. So if people would love to come and learn about any of those things, they can find me on LinkedIn, Joe Watson, pretentious letters after name. That's the one I'm at. Or you can find me at agoodwriteup.com. And yes, I do have a book out. If anyone's a parent and they're running their own business, they might love my book. That's the front cover of it. My child and my husband printed it out, and it said, "Mummy, I am so proud."
Oh, I know, I love that. My mommy wrote this.
Yeah, my mummy wrote this. It's lovely.
Yeah.
So I do have a book out, but that's probably only for people who have got a small child and they're running a business. I believe it's made other people laugh. People who go, "Oh no, I don't run my own business. I don't have a kid," and it still made me laugh. So if you fancy a laugh, go and get a copy.
Awesome. Okay. And all the links will be in the description. And you mentioned a couple of your blog posts. I want that as well. So please remember to give me
Yeah,
those links, and we'll add
oh,
them all because, yeah, I love reading your stuff. It does make me
well,
laugh. So that's
I just
awesome.
thank you. Honestly, I
Yeah.
am so bloody lucky. I think whenever anything goes wrong in business or it doesn't go to plan, you just have to remind yourself that there are some wonderful things that happen as well. And meeting you, and just because I idolize you, you are a woman at the top of her game, and you are just someone who people, I think, they do look up to. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful for me as a professional. It's wonderful for me as a woman to know there are other women out there. I can look at them and go, yes, you're leading the way. So thank you for
You
everything.
said that beautifully and right back at you. I absolutely loved every single second of the Sorted in 60s. I think I booked like two before we even finished one. I was like, this is so great. And we did. We crushed
Oh
everything.
God,
We
we
did all the
did. We
things
did
you mentioned. Like,
loads,
yeah,
didn't we?
yeah,
We did so many
insane.
sessions, and just to
Yeah.
cover everything. But it was
Yeah.
easy to work with you.
Yeah,
So
it super
easy.
was. I know. And yeah, you will be in my life for a long time. So
Good, because I refuse to leave, even if you ask me
that's
to.
good.
So
Count me down. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been the best. I loved it.
oh, likewise. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.